Hello gamers, this is Sai and welcome back to Which Way Games. Now what's orange and a force to be reckoned with?
Tails, get off!
I'm so sorry.
And with that being said, let's get on with the video.
In the mid-90s, when gaming was leaving the 2D era and entering the realm of 3D, gamers were waiting in anticipation as to what this new dawn of gaming would bring. The gaming consoles of the late 80s and the early 90s had provided hours upon hours of entertainment for gamers, but on the horizon were bigger and more powerful consoles from the legendary gaming companies Nintendo and Sega. However, there was a new contender to the console wars with its sleek design and its in-your-face attitude.
This would be the Sony PlayStation, a massive rival to the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo 64, with a whole library of fantastic games.
Now, Nintendo and Sega have always had their mascots, who had one of the biggest rivalries in gaming. However, the Sony PlayStation at the time had no gaming mascot to speak of. There would be several contenders for this prestige title, with gaming icons such as Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, Dante from the Devil May Cry series, as well as the beautiful Tomb Raider known as Lara Croft.
Now, Lara Croft was popular for a certain amount of reasons, especially in the world of entertainment, but that's for another video.
But there is one video game icon, however, at the time was probably one of the biggest things to hit the PlayStation and became an unofficial mascot for Sony's console.
This would be Crash Bandicoot, who was a massive gaming icon in the late 90s, among a few others. So with that in mind, let's go back to where it all started.
All the way back in 1986, two talented individuals had started their own gaming development company called JM Software. Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin were still teenagers when they first dipped their toes into the world of gaming, with games such as Math Jam, Ski Crazed and Dream Zone.
But it wouldn't be until 1989, with the release of Keep the Thief, that JM Software became known as Naughty Dog.
And from this point, Naughty Dog developed Rings of Power and Way of the Warrior. But Way of the Warrior caught the eyes of Universal Interactive Studios, and the pair were then signed up to develop 3 games.
Now, Andy and Jason had this idea of combining dinosaurs with the complexity of time travel, but of course with the world of gaming entering the 3D era, this concept was ultimately changed.
Now, the pair were inspired by some of the classic 16-bit platformers of the late 80s and the early 90s. However, they wanted to incorporate more action, but also put their own spin on the popular platforming genre. And one way of doing this was moving away from the side-scrolling view of the past and focus on the 3D elements of the future.
Now, Andy and Jason had their idea, but of course there was one small hurdle. They had to run it past one of the bigwigs at Universal Studios Interactive. Now, I do wonder how that went. So I've been thinking about changing the concept for the game.
Well, I thought you guys loved the idea of dinosaurs and time travel.
Oh, we do, but we just think gamers will probably have more fun playing a 3D platformer.
I'm not sure. Show me what you got.
Here you go.
Thank you. Okay. Interesting. Pretty good. What's that say here?
Oh, that's just nothing to worry about.
Sonic ass game. And there's a picture?
No, don't look at that.
Cool, blimey. I mean, interesting. Game approved.
Oh, fantastic. Can I have my notes back?
Oh, no, I need to review this for research. Yes, research purposes.
Now, while in development, Crash Bandicoot was originally named Willy the Wombat, and he kept this name all throughout the development process. But this was soon rectified, and eventually gamers finally got to play this legendary gaming series.
And of course, this was Crash Bandicoot, and when it was released, PlayStation owners couldn't get enough of the spinning Bandicoot.
Unlike platformers of the past, Crash Bandicoot had gamers playing in a 3D perspective, watching Crash spin attack enemies while collecting Wumpa fruits. And proved to be such a hit, there was also the possibility that Crash Bandicoot would have a cartoon show.
Cartoon? Cartoon guy? Oh, interesting. I've got a text from Cartoon Guy. Sorry I'm not there as I'm at the shop hunting down the heroes of Thundera for a future video. Strange bloke. Anyway, when Crash Bandicoot was released, it was one of those games that all PlayStation owners had to own, and like all good things, a sequel would soon follow up called Crash Bandicoot 2: Cortex Strikes Back.
Gameplay had been improved upon, correcting some small issues of the first game, and ultimately was praised as a perfect follow-up to the original Crash Bandicoot. And of course, Naughty Dog were on a roll, and eventually in just under a year, the first two games became a trilogy, with Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
Gamers were still clearly mad for Crash Bandicoot, and with the infamous Mario Kart 64 still entertaining gamers, Crash Team Racing soon found itself being released into the world of gaming.
Now at first glance, Crash Team Racing seems to be like a generic racer compared to the legendary Mario Kart 64. However, gameplay was slightly different and a little bit more hectic, which only added to the fun factor.
Crash Bandicoot soon found himself being released on other games consoles, very much like Sonic. However, these games couldn't quite capture the same magic as the originals.
These other games, although not developed by Naughty Dog, would introduce new gamers to the crazy antics of the spinning Bandicoot, as well as doing their best to expand the universe set by the three classic games for the PlayStation.
Eventually, Crash himself would undergo a slight makeover, which seemed to be the craze at the time.
Crash, as well as his friends, became more punk looking in nature, with piercings and leather for some of the crew. In fact, Crash himself seemed to be given the biggest makeover compared to the rest.
Now, tattoos are more socially acceptable than what they were in the past. However, this newly designed Crash, the tattoos on his hands just seemed out of place.
Now, Crash the Titans was a unique and enjoyable game to play, which gamers and critics enjoyed, but the next game in the series, Crash Mind Over Mutant, was classed as a vastly superior game, especially with its open world setting.
Eventually, Crash Fever slowed down, and with it, Crash Bandicoot went on a hiatus until 2017 when the Insane Trilogy was released, gracing the world of gaming.
The Insane Trilogy featured the first three games, but with a shiny new coat of paint, ranging from updated HD graphics, new sound and music, as well as plenty of new cutscenes to bring back the memories for 90s gamers. Luckily for gamers these days, the original games are easy to come by, and with the Insane Trilogy reigniting the Crash Bandicoot craze of the 90s, it's great to see the return of this classic gaming icon. And thankfully for fans of Crash Team Racing, this fantastic game got the remastered treatment as well, with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled being released for modern consoles, which is so much fun to play. It seems that Crash Bandicoot has returned from his hiatus with all new but familiar adventures.
With gamers getting excited about the fourth installment to the series, it kind of retcons all the other games that came before, a bit like Zelda.
With Crash Bandicoot first hitting the screens of gamers all the way back in 1996, it does show how far gaming has progressed and how games of the past are slowly making a comeback. However, Naughty Dog are now making extremely popular AAA titles that have a certain movie quality about them, such as for example the legendary Uncharted series.
Now, the Uncharted series is hugely popular with gamers, but in the fourth installment, there's a slight nod to the past when Nathan Drake is seen playing Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot.
Is there a problem?
No?
Overall, the Crash Bandicoot games are a joy to play, especially with their easy to pick up control scheme. Gamers of all ages will certainly have fun playing the variety of different games on offer, and I can only wonder what will come next for the Bandicoot and the misadventures he'll find himself on. Perhaps he'll have a chance encounter with the Guardian of the Master Emerald, or even the return of a disgruntled evil from the past, hell-bent on revenge. Either way, gamers won't be disappointed with the game starring Crash Bandicoot, especially the first three games that started the whole craze for the Sony PlayStation.
Anyway, come back next time where the month of the supernatural has finally returned. But why do gamers love horror games so much? Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.
Thank you.